Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Justy.
And together we're losing it.
We both lost over 100 pounds by developing healthy habits.
And I also had weight loss surgery and used a GLP-1 medication.
And I used a GLP-1 medication and had skin removal surgery.
We're really passionate about helping people learn to live a healthy lifestyle by sharing our experiences.
But we're not doctors, so if you have questions, reach out to your medical team. And you may see our mascot Sancho pop up from time to time.
And all three of us hope that you find our content useful.
Welcome back, friends. We are here to talk for another episode. We had to skip a week again. Sorry. That's my fault. Busy life.
Happens.
Yeah. But speaking of life happening, that's kind of what brought this topic up because life has been happening for both of us. And we thought, wouldn't it be a good topic to kind of talk about road bumps, how we handle it, what some of these road bumps might be, what they've been for us, and how we don't let just a little bump in the road throw us off altogether. Because I know the old me and the old Justy, because we've been friends for a long time, had a very all or nothing, black or white mindset. And our mindset was like, well, fuck it, we've already ruined it, so let's just go to the bar, have several drinks, get a pint of ice cream and a pizza, and call it a day. And now we're like, we think through it, we talk through it, we call each other, we do whatever we have to do. We might have a pity party for a minute, and then we pick it up and we move. So most recently, I'm gonna air Justy's dirty laundry a bit, but she had a new boo, and new boo turned out to be what we're kindly calling a big turd. He's a turd.
Cow patty.
Cow patty. He's cow patty. When we were in Grayson Highlands with all the wildlife, we kept having to like dodge these cow patties, and now we're like, you know what? That's he's a cow patty. So yeah, he's the biggest of the turds, and he's a cow patty. So she's not letting this cow patty deter her though. Like she's already moved on from it, and we had some time to talk about it and to maybe badmouth him a bit because he really truly is a turd, and she's moved on from it. But it's things like that where we've also heard other women specifically, because men don't really talk quite like women do, but women specifically who will sit and wallow in something like this for months and really let it take them down. And I know in my previous relationship, now this was 10 years of a relationship on and off, it took about a year of my life to get back on track with just life. Like I took a hit from that, and that was hard. But this is just dating, and you weren't invested in any major way. But dating in your 40s is rough. It's rough.
It is like, it's funny because it is like hiking at the Grayson Highlands. It is dodging cow patties and turds.
Right.
It is so bad. And
then having some really beautiful moments too.
Right.
And then finding out that those beautiful moments were the ones that left the cow patty there. Like those beautiful ponies were the ones leaving those turds for us.
Right. And so it's interesting because, I'm at a place in my life where I know that I've done a lot of work, not just to lose the weight, but just to set myself up in my life to where I can be a good partner to somebody. And so I really want to find a partnership. And so, I'm putting myself out there, and I'm casting the net pretty wide. I'm stepping outside of my normal, kind of.
No, you really are, because you've dated older. You've really gone outside of what is your like typical.
Right.
Because the typical's obviously not working. So
So I have dated older.
Right.
I've dated different careers. I'm just like putting myself out there, and I connected with this one person, and we just had a really good time. And I'm always a little bit cautiously optimistic, and so I was just a little bit hesitant, and then I found out some things. So we actually ended up breaking it off about 2 months into it, which doesn't seem like a long time, but when you have a connection with somebody, it's a connection, right? So And sorry, my dog's making an ass. So, and then I found out like a week later that he's had a long-term relationship. And so when he was going to his sister's house for the 4th of July, that's where his girlfriend lived. And so he was basically switching us off every other weekend because he lived about an hour and a half away too. So then I'm an asshole. So I put his name on
Don't
all
talk
the
about my
sites.
friend like that.
Right. So I put his name on all the sites, like, are you a cheater type of sites, and just his name, his picture, my story about him, and more women have come out, and it's just like, man, A, how could I be so wrong? B, who does that? And C, I'm gonna move the fuck forward because him and his craziness and issues, and me being somebody who was open to a connection, that doesn't make there's nothing wrong with me, right? So in that situation, I did nothing wrong. I was authentic. I was somewhat forgiving, and I gave him the benefit of the doubt on a couple occasions, which didn't benefit me. And so yeah, I'm just moving
I
on.
remember, I remember saying to you, I'm like, Justy, do we believe him? Like she was telling me, like, oh, he said
Right.
this is what happened, blah blah. And usually it's the other way around. Justy's usually
Usually
like,
it's me.
and I'm like, do we believe him? She's like, no, I do because this adds up. It makes sense, blah 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 blah. And then looking back at it, she's like, wait a minute. Yeah, he said this or this happened then. And it's just like,
Right.
and you found out you weren't like snooping or digging. You
No.
got called by from somebody else. You got reached out to from somebody else. And it's just like, God damn, I'm just going about my day. And it's like, bam, by
Mm-hmm.
the way.
Right. And so, but what I did do is call Steph, tell her the whole story. But what I didn't
I
do is,
popped popcorn.
right. I did not allow it to hurt my self-esteem. I did not allow it to hurt my desire to find a good partner in my life. I did not allow it to make me even think once about lowering my standards. And so that's something that I can't say would have been the case before I'd done all the work, and then resulted in, weight loss and a lot more confidence than I had before. So I think I did have a piece of chocolate cake.
Yeah, we talked about it. I was like,
Right.
plan a piece of
Yeah.
chocolate cake.
Yeah. I just had a piece of chocolate cake and a big old glass of milk. I didn't cry one time. Like, no, no, sir. But I didn't allow it to like make me more jaded than I already am.
Right.
I'm
I
just
don't know
like,
if that's
oh well,
possible, but but
I went
also
to
like
the
you still went. Now listen, I haven't sent you I haven't planned tracked food in probably a week because life is lifing over here too, but you didn't let it like you stop doing what you were doing. You continued
no.
tracking your food, you continued weighing in, you continued doing your workouts, maybe
Yep.
even increasing some workouts just because you're really trying to get strong before surgery. So it's like you didn't allow
Dude.
you had a brief moment of a
Right.
pity party because you deserve that
Right.
to feel your feels. And then you picked the fuck up and moved on
Right.
because what's the point in just
What's
sitting
the
there and
point?
wallowing in it,
No, what's the
rolling
point?
around in your
And
shitty diaper?
right, I'm not gonna sit in my shitty diaper. And I didn't allow it to like, I mean, I've gone on dates since, and or made plans since, and I'm just gonna keep move on. And um that's just something that we as women, it's very important that we do not, if you're single, especially like our age, that we don't go through life finding the man that will accept us in his life. It's like, no, am I going to accept you in mine?
Right.
Because my life is exactly how I want it to be. My career, financially where I'm at, physically where I'm at, emotionally where I'm at. And that's something I've worked really hard for. And so I'm not going to allow some jackass, what is it called? Cow patty to like take me off my track. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
I just don't take it personal anymore. I used to take it personal. I would be like, oh, because I'm fat, or oh, it's because of this, or oh, it's because of that. It has nothing to do with me.
Or
It
to
is
think
because,
like we're not going to find somebody that's going to like find us attractive like
right,
that person did,
right, right. And
when really
so,
did they? Because clearly they
right,
didn't.
clearly they didn't. So So yeah, so that's been one of the hurdles that I just have kind of gotten over. And last year at some point or earlier in this year, I also had a long distance relationship that we talked about, Steady Eddie, and I made the choice to move on from that as well because it wasn't fulfilling me from a time standpoint because I would like to spend time with somebody that I'm dating, not FaceTime, and from an emotional standpoint, right? So he was a very mechanical person and I'm a much more emotional person, and I just needed some of that physical and emotional connection that I wasn't getting. And so, made that decision too to move on. And, great guy. Not a cow patty actually, but
The opposite
but
of a
just
compound.
right, just not holding on and holding on to something because I feel like I need that person in my life or that person fulfills me because I'm so fulfilled on my own.
Right.
Um, and having a partner in my life is a nice to have type of thing. And it would be really nice to have one. So I don't have to go hiking and stuff by myself. And I can have a physical, connection, emotional connection with somebody. But it's not gonna throw me off my track. So yeah. Um, and I think the next hurdle that I'm personally going through is my surgery, and that is coming up in 29 days. And so that's I'm going to be out of commission like mostly October, kind of the beginning of November. And that's just a really hard time for me anyway, because it's going into the winter. I kind of get the winter blues. So I'm trying to do some work now to be like, okay, this is what I am and what I'm not going to do. This is how it is going to affect me. But this is my plan type of thing. So that's kind of the next hurdle that I'm doing. And I told Steph yesterday, I'm not dating anymore for the rest of the year. I'm just going to focus on myself. So I have, the rest of the year to just get through all of that. And it's not because of the cow patty. It's just because I need to focus on getting through this next hurdle, and I don't need any distractions right now.
Right. And I think that's smart because you're planning for it. So you already can identify, you already know that winter is harder to
Mhm.
stay out of a funk because
Right.
we want to hibernate like a bear type of
Hmm.
thing. So as we had last year around this time, I think it was October, we had Rob come on and talk about the burrs, and
The
we have a
first.
burr approaching us here
Yeah.
in a week and then next week. So
Right.
the birds are approaching, and so if you haven't listened to that episode, go back. It came out right around Halloween, so go back and listen last year to that one, because that's something that we need to do to stay. I stayed, honestly, I think we both did, stayed fairly on track for most of the winter. It's harder to pull yourself out of it the deeper that you get out of routine. But because we were able to somewhat plan for it, I think each year we'll just get a little bit better at it. So
Hmm.
it's still summer, like it's still 80 degrees outside, and you're already planning for what, the winter is how it's gonna affect you. And then to add your surgery on top of it. And I think what's really smart that you're doing to avoid this, you're like driving around the road bump a bit, is that you are saving your the start of your work for the coaching business, the
Yeah.
coaching, not business, but coaching license that you want to do for when you're done your surgery. So you've got something that's going to force you to get back to
Right.
the gym regularly once you're cleared and able to, without pushing yourself,
Without pushing myself.
Rusty, without
Yeah.
pushing too fast, too soon.
Yeah.
Once the doctor clears you to go, you can go back to that, but you'll be able to do the kind of desk work, I guess, that it
Yeah.
takes, the classroom learning. And then by the time that that's done, it'll lead you right into getting back in, because you then have to, be able to do all your physical requirements after that. So I think it's a really smart plan.
Yeah.
Um, and not all road bumps can you plan for. There was no way
Right.
for you to plan for that cow patty, but there
Right.
is a way for you to plan for this one. So it's something that
Right.
you have to kind of like think through. Like for me, one that I can plan for is back to school. So school started for us Monday. And it's always a bit of a whirlwind. Well, I will say that I am fortunate enough that Chelsea's split between two households. So there's a lot of, kids that they're blessed and very lucky that, still have one family household that both parents are together. That's even harder because that child is there every day. You have to,
Hmm.
you do this every day. So for us, we at least split. So there is a bit of a relief when that comes back, but back to school always causes a little bit of a whirlwind of like getting back in routine, making lunches, that kind of stuff. And so I knew it was coming and I decided to, try to plan for it as best I could as well. And I already meal prep. I'm in such a routine of meal prepping. I mean, not to mention the fact that we just started a whole ass business out of like nowhere within like a month. All of a sudden, I'm like started a business, which blows my mind. But it was like, okay, well, you already meal prep. Before I left yesterday, she likes really simple things a lot of times, just like sliced apple, and I make a yogurt, peanut butter, honey, cinnamon dip for her. And so I made the little containers of that. Like I meal prepped for her before I left because I knew that my husband was going to he has work. He's got to get her, he's got to take her to soccer. He's got to get home and he's doing all of this on his own. So I was like, if I can just cut some apples and make this dip up, her breakfast is ready. So it's
Mhm.
like we talk about things. He's like, Steph, you didn't have to do that. I'm like, I don't have to do that, but that's what partners do. Partners
Mhm.
recognize that I am leaving and you're going to have the whole workload put on you. So
Mhm.
rather than know that you're getting out of work, running to pick her up from school, getting home, getting her to soccer, coming home, having dinner ready, the least I can do is cut some apples and make the dip that I know she likes. So you don't have a fight in the morning with she doesn't want what you made her or whatever. She loves it and she's gonna love it. So here you go, 3 of them for the next 3 days that I'm gone. So it's just like having those little plans and being able to have set yourself up. For me, I knew that I was going to be home just Monday and then leave on Tuesday. So I meal prepped enough for myself to get through Monday and knowing that I'm leaving. Um, and then getting back into a bedtime routine with her, things like that. So just getting ahead. That's one that I can get ahead of. One that
Mhm.
I probably could have gotten ahead of, but it was just like it moved really fast was this whole meal prep thing. Uh, I became like incredibly busy literally within a week because we decided to do this. It was like we were already kind of doing it and then it just took off. So then I became incredibly busy. And you know what it's like when you get really busy in life, you're juggling the plates or spinning the
Mhm.
plates or whatever, something's going to fall.
Mhm.
Inevitably, something's going to fall. I let cracking food slip. That's a tough one
Mhm.
because you let that slip and it goes long enough and it's hard to get back to it.
Mhm.
But what I said to myself was, okay, I still know what I'm going to eat. I still eat the same dang foods all the time. The
Right.
stuff that I meal prepped, I've already worked all the macros out for. I already know what it is because I had to work it out before I meal prepped it, before I sold it and told people what it's going to be. So I know I'm okay because I've done that, but I just haven't put it in the tracker.
Right.
So for me, like that's the part that slips, and I know when I get home, I've got to get back to it, and I will
Mhm.
get back to it. And even being while I'm away, that's hard too because I'm eating out a lot, and you know what it's like when you're tracking and
Yeah.
eating out. I'm just gonna make the best choice. So I've already looked at like where I'm ordering from tonight. I'm like, okay, I got to get some protein, and like I know I'm looking at menus ahead of time and trying to figure it out. When I get back from this trip, I know that I'm back to my tracking because even if I wasn't, my weight still stayed within the same 5 whatever pound range,
Mhm.
but it didn't get away from me
Right.
with
Yeah.
tracking. So it's
Yeah.
frustrating. That's a whole
Yeah.
nother podcast, but it didn't get away from me. But those are like the road bumps that like the unforeseen and the ones that you can see. So if you can see them, get ahead of it. Justy knows the surgery's coming. She knows winter is coming. It sounds like Game of Thrones, winter is
Right.
coming. Um,
For me, the
which
the unexpected ones are like these small injuries that I get when I
yeah,
lift weights. Like a couple weeks ago, I hurt my knee, and so I was like, well, I told myself I was going to do Pilates and then run a mile afterwards. Well, I still could do Pilates and modify some of the moves, but then I walked a mile instead. You know what I mean? So still doing it, still doing what I can, and not just saying fuck it just because I
right.
hurt my knee. Now, if my knee was really, really hurt, obviously I would have done what I needed to do. But for me, it's kind of like that kind of stuff. Like instead of if my back hurt, it's usually a pain, right? So my back
Well,
hurts,
we're
or
almost 48. We're pushing 48 at this point.
right.
So
So or my monthly cycle kind of takes me down for a couple of days as I get older. It's just really hard for me. And just knowing that and planning lighter workouts. So, hey, she came in with a vengeance. I'm still going to go to the gym, but I'm not going to do what I normally do because I know my body just, isn't going to respond well. And that's okay. And
mhm.
so I've learned over the couple of years. I guess it's weird how it goes by so fast, because it's been over a year and a half since I had my surgery. So even longer since I've kind of been at a weight that I feel is acceptable for me. But it's weird how my mind has just changed. Even this morning, I had to go in at 4 a.m. to do the baking this morning, and do some retraining. And then I had lunch with a vendor. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to let this fuck up my day. So I did have half a pommier this morning.
They're little
So
though. They're not that big.
yeah, they're fine. And then I went to lunch, and it was kind of like a brunch. So I had egg whites, because what I have at home is egg white, sausage, spinach. Like that was what I planned. That's what I had. I ordered egg whites, turkey sausage, and a fruit cup. And that was my breakfast. And
Yeah,
so the guy next to me had shrimp and grits, and it looked freaking phenomenal, but that wasn't serving my purpose of what I want most. And what I want
right,
most is be as healthy as possible for my surgery. And the shrimp and grits isn't going to get me there, you
right,
know? And so just the way my mind thinks now, instead of, oh my God, I can't have the shrimp and grits. Like my life sucks because blah, my metabolism and blah, all this bullshit I used to tell myself. No, it's like I'm making a choice on what I want based on the situation I'm in right now. And I just move on.
right,
And, you know?
right. Yeah. Yeah, and that's taken a lot of work for both of us. It's easier said than done for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And same with, so for us and anyone else who's in perimenopause, menopause, what have you, it's tough because my monthly cycle decided to show up after having, I thought that ship had sailed.
Mm-hmm.
And it came back with a vengeance as well. When you don't have it for a good 4 or 5 months, all of a sudden it's like, oh, remember me? And I'm gonna take you down today.
Right.
So it came back. Of
Yep.
course, I'm like, could this timing have been any worse? It was literally the day that I was putting out the biggest meal prep that I had to do, as well as traveling for work the next day. And I'm like, could anything else want to fall on my plate right now?
Mhm.
Because I really, really was like, I could feel through my like lower stomach to my back. It felt like someone was like just jabbing me, and it was
Yeah.
awful. And I'm just like, God. So that's another, an unexpected hurdle. It's just like it
Mhm.
almost knocks you down
Mhm.
sometimes, and and that's tough too. But we just, you have to just like, I think the old us of when we were younger, and less confident with ourselves and had done less mind work, would have let things like that take us down or let the excuses take over, versus now it's like almost like we just talk it out, whether it be to
Right.
each other, whether it be getting on a live, and just trying to find like the silver lining of it all. Like, you know what?
Mhm.
Because you had that whole bad string of shit that happened. Your car was broken into.
Yeah.
What was it?
Flat tire.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just like
Flat
shit
tire.
just
Car
kept
broken
happening to
into. Just
you. And
bam,
it's
bam,
just, but
bam.
but at the same time, you weren't like, well, I guess I should just go, buy myself a whole pizza and a pint of beer. It's like, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
But we
Well,
would
right.
have before.
Because we used to excuse ourselves to death. And the old me, if I was to go through a breakup or whatever, I would have been like, well, the best way of getting over someone is getting under someone else. Let me go to the bar, let me drink, let me do this, let me whoop it up. And
Right.
now I'm just like, yeah, that's none of that's going to solve anything. That's
Almost like
just
an I'll show them type of thing. Like,
right.
you're showing, you're not showing
Like
anybody
right,
anything.
right. What I'm doing is like not having self-respect, and
Right.
I'm gonna drink too much and then want to eat a whole pizza. None of that is gonna be good for me, right? So
Right.
none of that is gonna serve the purpose of my current life and what I want. And so it's a little bit more boring being Justy 2.0.
But at the same time, we find balance because you
Yeah.
have gone on dates and you have
Yeah.
had some drinks with them. And I know for me, same, like, Isaac and I, we were like, oh, we should go. We're like, we hadn't gone out to eat in a long time. It's just something that we stopped doing to try to like save money and whatnot. And I was like, we've been to, it's called Plaza Azteca. It's like literally down the street from us. Like, we live behind a shopping center and it's on the other side of the intersection. I'm like, you want it? Like, we've been like so deep into getting this business going. I'm like, you want to just go out to eat tonight? Like, let's just go out to eat. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And he was like, "You want to just walk there?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Because it's
Mhm.
only maybe a mile round trip.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's walk there. And then they have the best drinks. But I just had one.
Uh-huh.
Called La Mula. So it's like a Moscow Mule, but with tequila. And
Nice.
it comes out in the big glass and it has a little bottle of ginger beer in it. And it's
Good. Yeah.
delicious. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, I'm gonna get the Mula. And he was like, yeah. So I think he got the same thing because we both love it. But I was like, I just had one.
Yeah.
And we both just had the one, and then we had our food and we left. And half of mine came home with me because what else is new? But um, it was just like, you still have to live. You can't
Right.
just be very like, okay, well
Yes.
that's done and this happened and we're moving on. Like you still have to feel the feels. You still have to be
Hmm.
human. You still have to sometimes have that drink every once in a while. You still have to, I told her, plan for a chocolate cake. You know you're gonna want it. Just put it on your plan. She's like, I'm sure as
Right.
fuck did, and I ate it and it was
And
delicious.
it
But
was
so
delicious.
right, you
And
still
yeah.
have to live. You can't like all work and no play makes for a
And
very dull Justy and Steph. So like we still
yes.
have to be able to play every once in a while.
And I had my father's death anniversary was on the
That as
20th.
well.
And
Yeah.
so that was just not that I can't, it's just emotional for me because I miss him so much. And so the thing that him and I always did was have Coke with peanuts in it. It's a very redneck Southern thing. And so I had a team meeting that day. So I bought, everybody a Coke and a bag of peanuts. And we kind of had that for my dad. It was calories that I wouldn't normally eat. And it was regular Coke instead of diet. But you know what? It was for my father. And then that night I had a 40-ounce of Miller High Life.
Wait, and she planned the whole thing. She
I
sent me
planned
her
it.
plan. I was like, I am
Yep.
impressed.
I made it fit into my calories and my macros and everything. And so, but I wasn't going to not do it because that's kind of just what I do on his death
Right.
anniversary. And so I'm still living my life. And, I have, even though I said I stopped dating, I stopped online dating and for the rest of the year, but I have a roster. Listen, so I'm going to finish out my little roster over the next couple weeks and
Tryouts, tryouts for
right
the next couple of weeks.
see what happens. But I'm gonna have a drink here and there. I'm gonna go out to dinner. I'm gonna plan it and stick to my plan.
But you also
And
made some really good friends in that process too.
yeah,
Like friends
yeah,
that you still, that it never turned into anything like physical or like a connection, but like friends. And
yeah,
so, I mean, that's
yeah,
important too. So while it didn't work out the way you wanted things to, it worked out the way it was supposed to. Like you've
yeah.
made some friends who are reaching out to you and there for you and supportive for you.
Hmm.
And so I don't know, you know how your universe is. It's gonna bring
Yeah.
you what it needs to bring you.
It is. And I feel pretty confident about that because like I said, I think the universe will bring me what I don't want if I allow myself to minimize my standards or to accept things that I know that aren't authentic to like who I am. And so that's not going to get me to where I want to be either. And so I'm just really sticking strong to that and my health. And that is very important to me. And, I've gone on a few dates with gentlemen who just aren't healthy. Like they just don't work out, they don't eat right, they drink a little too much, whatever. And I just can't see myself connecting with somebody who doesn't um put their
Have the
health
same values.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that is
See,
very important to me.
those values are no different than the values of maybe somebody who's religious
Right.
or somebody who,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Those values, because we've worked long and hard to get to a place where we work, where we are. And I couldn't imagine, I am lucky that Isaac also likes to like run and work out. And he's always like, oh, I haven't worked out in a couple of days. We need to put that on like, he will put it on
Hmm.
the calendar because he's feeling it too. Like, we haven't done it in a while. We need to get back to it. I'm like, yeah. Or
Hmm.
like I'll be able to schedule going to the gym, but he can't go, so I'll go. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna take my clothes and run at work because they have a treadmill and whatnot there. He's like, I'm gonna run at work today, or taking Chelsea to practice, I'm gonna run there. But I'm lucky that I have somebody in my life that also is like, okay, we've been slipping, we got to pick it back up. And we
Right.
weren't like that when we met. We weren't like that, no, because when we
Hmm.
were met, we were out eating out and drinking every night, and it's just like that doesn't serve either one of us anymore, not in any way. So it's kind of
Right.
like I don't know, and if we talked a little bit about this earlier too, because Justin and I, look, we talked for probably a good hour before we even got on here and recorded because we had to catch up anyway. But if it's not, you gotta surround yourself with the right people. If it's not
Hmm.
serving you, it's just not serving you. And I hate to sound
Hmm.
that, maybe that's the Scorpio in us, but if it's like
Right.
you gotta cut, you gotta cut. Like
Right.
I don't know what to tell you. Like it's just if it's not serving you and the hard work that you've done. Because what the hell is the point in doing all of this hard work and then just letting it go, lowering your standards for somebody else?
Right.
It makes no sense.
Right. And that's something I would have done in the past. You know, when I look back at, and we're talking a lot about dating, but when I look back at even career decisions or not asking for something that I feel like I'm worth, right, that a man would ask for, I guess. I'm much more confident in that. So, you know, I feel like for years I was just underpaid and I never asked for a raise. I never asked for more money. I always just took what I was given. Now
Yeah.
I ask. And
That's
now
our next episode. Don't give it
yeah,
all away.
yeah, sorry. So, and so just that confidence in other areas of my life as well, which we're going to be talking about on the next one, is kind of like what benefits, what is it, hidden benefits, what is it called?
The unexpected benefits.
You wrote it down, I can't remember.
I did. It's in my phone.
So anyway,
Unknown, unplanned, unexpected. The benefits that you get that you weren't expecting, essentially.
right,
Like when you
right,
lose weight, it's like, I didn't know. And you think you're going to lose weight and poof, everything
right.
is fixed. And that's just
I
not the
just,
way it works. That's
yeah,
not
I really
reality.
thought like, oh my gosh, when I'm a size 14, I'm gonna be like, feel like I'm perfect. Well, I'm a size 10 now. And you know, I still have my things I'm working through, like body
Right.
image issues and that sort of thing that I'm working through. Much more confident now than I ever was, but it's still there. Like the weight loss
Mm-hmm.
didn't fix everything, but there's also some things that it did fix that I didn't realize. And there's some confidence that it gave me. There's some self-worth and some value. There's some decisions that I made that I would not have made. And so we're going to talk about all that kind of stuff because we both have experienced like the unplanned benefits of losing weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess
So,
that answers the what's next, huh?
right, right.
So we do have that. We have that. And then hold please. The other one, which we'll push to the next. Oh, that was just kind of the scale and not letting the scale like mess with your head or how it
Mhm,
can and how to get around that. Because we've been
mhm.
talking back and forth about that. And then that one's going to lead into the next one, which is our body scans. And by then I'll have had another body scan because my last one got jacked up. They didn't
Mhm.
tell me that when I did it, came right out of body pump class, trotted my sweaty ass over there. The trainer was like, "Oh yeah, you know," I was like, "Oh, I just got a class. Sorry, I'm kind of sweaty." He's like, "Oh, what class were you?" And I'm like, "Body pump." I was like, "It was an intense one." He's like, "Oh yeah, those can be really good." We're talking about classes and everything. I go through, I do the body scan, and he's looking at it. He's like, "Huh." He's like, this doesn't really make sense. He's like, I lost like 8 pounds. He's like, but you gained fat and lost muscle. He's like, how often do you work out? I'm like, I don't know. I go to like body pump twice a week. I do a couple of the Edge Strong classes like twice a week. I run or walk. And he was like, yeah. He's like, you really aren't supposed to do these after you work out. What? Why would you let me do it then? What?
That's what my trainer, he was like, come before you work out, you know, make sure you know, come first thing in the morning, don't drink too much
Yes.
water, like make sure you go to the
Yes.
bathroom, all the
He
things.
told me all of this after I did it, and my numbers were all like backwards. He's like, this is not correct. And I'm like, okay. And I can only do it once a month there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, can we just throw this one away? Because we all know he's like, it has to do with the muscles and the retention of the water and the release of the water because of you working out and sweating, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. And I kind of wanted to like go off on him, but I was like, that's not gonna I'm gonna
Fix
get
it.
right with the Lord. We're not gonna do that. We're just gonna come back in a month. Justy's universe kept her from doing her body scan several times. The machine was broken. This one was not broken, but the trainer was broken because
Yeah.
he still allowed me to do it anyway. Because I would have just scheduled it for another day. So I'm like, bummer, because I was really excited to see results, and they were exact opposite of what you would be. I'm like, I lost weight. However,
Right.
it's showing I gained fat and lost muscle, and I don't, it's impossible. He's like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm like, yep. And if you're lying to yourself, but I really have been working out like a decent amount
Mm-hmm.
and with
And
weights.
doing
I'm
more
not just
strength.
running. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been doing strength
Mm-hmm.
training. And I'm like, come on, man. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that we're going to talk about that. We do have a dietitian coming on to go through that with us and talk about calorie deficit and You know, because we've said it a million times before, like, how do you know? Like, we know how many calories we're eating, but is that a deficit for who we are and, you know, where we are in life? Because it's different for everybody. So all of that, we've got a stacked, probably 2 months ahead of us, I would say.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
and
So
then I would say self-care. I've been bad. I've been real bad. I mean, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I've just been busy and I let that slide. So I'm guilty as charged that I haven't been doing really very much with the self-care department, aside from just like letting myself um enjoy life a little more and not being so strict and stringent about like I can't have a drink. I'm trying to be in a calorie deficit. Like,
right.
you know, instead I'm just like, you know what, I kind of want to have a drink tonight, or I kind of want to just let loose tonight. So that's just been more of what I've been trying to do is just relax a little more and not be so like laser focused and intense on like getting tasks done. So I'm trying to just loosen up. But as far as like self love, I don't know. I suck at it.
I would say for me, the last, I don't know, month or so, 3 weeks or whatever, I've been going back to church, which I really enjoy. And so, I broke up with the cow patty, but I got back with Jesus. So we're going with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so that just makes me feel better. That sets me up for the week. I just enjoy it. And so that's just, a couple hours every day. I drive, 35 minutes to go to church where I can see this pastor that I really like live. I fight the
That's a
traffic.
couple hours every week. You said every day. I'm like, she don't
Yeah,
go
I'm
to church
sorry.
every day, people.
No,
Let me
no,
just
every week.
clarify that.
I have to show up, an hour early just to get a seat because it's just a packed. It's one of those big churches, but it really does make me feel better and feel whatever message I feel at the time. That it's self-love for sure. So that is something I'm not perfect with it, but if I'm not working, I've given up my Saturday morning workouts or Sunday morning workouts that I would usually do body pump at 10 o'clock and I go to church instead.
Yep. Well, that sounds good. I got to do better. I'll pick it up. I swear I will.
Yeah. All right. Well,
All
next
right.
one is
The
the
unexpected benefits of weight
right.
loss.
Yeah. So we will see
Yep.
you
So
soon.
stay tuned. Yes.
Bye.
Bye.